Welcome back to the Free Kit Martin podcast. There's a lot going on in the world of Kit Martin right now. I want to introduce all of our guests here today. We have Jessica with us. Jessica, you have been a supporter of Kit from the very beginning. I remember getting emails from you when I was on the other podcast, and you're like,
Yes.
thank God somebody's finally speaking. You have some of the greatest Kit stories. He is part of your family with Stacy, right?
My cousin, always and forever.
Always and forever. Do you keep in touch with them? And are you on like the phone with them, or do you keep email? Or
Through Stacy mostly.
Yeah.
I've been with her and talked on the phone with him that way. So
And then Donna, you're basically Stacy's best friend. I call you when I'm missing her. Like if she's if she's missing in action, like, had to go to the bathroom or something and I can't get a hold of her, I call Donna. So Donna, I appreciate you. Now you sat with Stacy during this court process, right? In Hardin County. You guys were in the courtroom together.
Yes, we all three were there. We kind of joked and said we were Kit's Charlie's Angels.
Okay, that's where Charlie's Angels came from, because I've heard him say that and refer to it. So it was the three of you?
Yes.
So here I am with Kit's Angels today. This is going to be really cool.
So Jessica, she is my first cousin.
Great.
And so, I've known her since the day she came into the world. So she's the first cousin, but she's more like a sister. And then Donna and I, we've been best friends since 1991. Oh, I think it was earlier than that because Mackenzie was born in 92. So I guess it was 91.
Wow.
Donna. So you put up
Wow.
with me.
I was thinking 93. I was thinking about it today and I kept trying to think, but I'm not good with years because they go by so fast.
Yeah, that's the truth, man. Yeah, life moves really fast. And can you imagine being confined like Kit is right now? And I know, Jessica, you've told us some great stories just online on social media and via email about, just over Thanksgiving. You're like, man, I always sat next to Kit at Thanksgiving. Tell us a couple of stories that we can put out there that kind of shows us the character of this man. Just how he treated you as a little girl.
Oh, like considering the age difference, he always hung out with me because there wasn't anybody else my age whenever we were all together. Like the trick with the mashed potatoes, my mom making me eat them, and he's like, hey, put some A1 steak sauce on them. And
It's more doable.
working down, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, that worked.
It actually is really good. A1.
He knew I liked it.
Yeah, instead of gravy, right? He is such a cool guy. I've never met him, and I know all of you ladies know him and know him very, very well. But one of the other people that you know in this story is Joni. And since we're doing a girls' night out, can we talk a little bit about Joni?
I would like to interject something here about, both experiences I've observed besides my dog over there getting my granddaughter's stuffed animal and running all over the house. Ellie, stop it. Anyway, she's not getting enough attention.
Ellie.
So a couple of things I've observed with both Donna and Jessica. And again, they know him as Chris also because he was Chris to us. They're from the same hometown that where we lived and where I was raised. But I can remember once, and Jessica, you may not even remember this, just speaking to his characters. We were sitting in church and little Jessica bebops in with her little curly hair. And, she's so much younger than us. A lot younger than all of us. But she, anything could be wrong. And, Chris and I talked about that, and not to make you cry, Jessica, but it was like no matter what was wrong in life, we'd turn around and see this little bebopping redhead Ginger walking through the door, and we just knew everything was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And Jessica and I've gone on some real journeys with this whole thing.
Oh, I know. When I
I
first met you, Stacy, you said she ain't no bigger than a minute. She was talking about Jessica.
So Crystal kind of makes fun of our accent a little bit, ladies.
No, I do not.
She just laughs.
I wish I had one just like it.
It's so funny because I wasn't thinking about it. And I said, she ain't no bigger than a minute. And she's helped me. She don't get scared though. Can I share, Donna? I'm going to let you interject. I'll tell the story leading up to it, and you'll absolutely be able to fill in the blanks. Is that okay, Donna?
That'd be great.
Okay. So Donna has, known Chris. We were together. We come back. We had been in the military, and we had come back to Tennessee, and so Donna and I were realtors together. She's now the. Can I say that? Is it okay to say? She's the Coffee County Register of Deeds now. But back then, that's how I knew Donna's. We met in real estate, and I was already with Chris. I was already married to him.
Yeah.
And so Chris and I, when we fast forward split up, she was showing them houses. Isn't that right, Donna, Joni, and Chris?
Yeah.
And I'll never ever forget after that what she called and told me. And Donna, I'm going to let you tell Crystal and Jessica here and our listeners what you told me about her.
Well,
Do you remember?
at a current time, as we're in 2023 and everything that's happened, it's so unreal what happened that day. I approached and Chris introduced us, but we hadn't caught eye contact. And just a few minutes into the house, we caught eye contact, I and Joni. And it went through my spine. My first thoughts were, she's mean. She has a
Really?
dark side.
She's got a dark vibe.
And a dark side. She looked at me like she looked through me. It was piercing. And as a realtor, you really get to know people and personalities, and you really can peg people. And she's the only one ever out in real estate that I made this phone call. As soon as I got to my car, I called Stacy. I said, Stacy, I don't know where Chris has met her, but she's not going to add anything positive to his future. And she has a dark side. I think she's evil.
Mm.
And we go back to that over and over, especially when everything started happening. And there was other things that happened that we would go back to it when there was things that she would do to the children when they were visiting, and things that she would do to Stacy. We go back to knowing right from the get-go. I sensed it.
Yeah. You sure did. Those are some big words for like a first meeting with someone. Now, had you heard any stories up to that point? Any of the evil kind of
Nothing. Stacy.
So that
never
was
said
just an
anything about her.
absolute first impression.
Yeah.
Mm,
I knew nothing.
I had the same first impression.
really?
What year was it? Probably, Stacy.
2004.
I still to this day know exactly where I was when I met her for the first time. And it was like making, when you made eye contact with her, it was like she was stealing your soul immediately. I mean, we knew, I feel the exact same way as Donna. We didn't know exactly what it was, but we knew it was bad.
What about the
And-
kids, you guys? Did you feel for the children? Did you know the kids in any way? As far as her children, were they ever around?
Yeah, it looked like there was a litter all this time.
Litter of
was-
children.
I think she was looking for a meal ticket as soon as I
Right.
figured it out. And I'm not trying to belittle her children. They're going to have a long enough row to hoe.
Yes, absolutely,
There's one
man.
of those country
Like-
things.
Yeah,
Yes.
not a road to a hoe, but road to hoe. Sorry.
Right.
Difference.
Her son definitely
Oh,
takes after her.
does he?
I think so.
So that would be EJ. Now we
Yeah, I
have
think I do.
two girls and then EJ. And you guys, you've been around since the court martial, and Stacy even testified in the court martial, which is funny.
They didn't keep me on the stand for very long. We were laughing, Crystal and I were ladies, about this. During the court martial, they were having me testify, which an ex-wife I'm not tooting my horn, but I'm just saying it speaks to his character. If an ex-wife's going to testify for their ex-husband, that speaks, just mounds to him, because most usually they'll be laughing that they're in trouble. It wasn't
Yeah.
a funny thing to me, but they got me on the stand, and they didn't prep me. And so if I remember correctly, the attorney said, asked me questions about where Chris and I and Kit, you all, to the listeners, but where we'd met, and we talked a little bit about the military background and everything. And then he said, "Do you think you know Joan well enough to speak to her honesty?" And just right out of my mouth, before I thought about it, I said, "She is the biggest liar I have ever met in my life."
And like
And
right on
they
the
called
stand.
me Judge, and I said, "I just thought we were trying to get at the truth." Well, guess what? The prosecution never asked me a question. They said, "No questions for this
No,
witness."
we do not want to get her started. Now, see, I would have liked to have seen you get on the stand, and Mike Kanzaki, for that matter, two of the most important people, I think, in this entire case would have been you and him to be on the stand in the criminal case, too. You know, I mean, that would have changed everything, especially Michael Kanzaki's testimony. For God's sakes, you know, he talked to Cal 2 weeks before the murder. And you think about, I mean, just think about that, you guys. I mean, Michael Kanzaki has seen this whole thing. He went and stayed with Kit for a little while to help him with the court-martial situation, you know, and has really gotten into this. And I'm telling you what, man, I think that we're starting to very slowly inch up on some big news here, very, very soon.
I guess the game field I'm in politics, a lot of times we use this saying, follow the money. And from the get-go, it's about the money.
It is about the money. Thank you, Donna.
They had their hands on our federal funds.
They allegedly did. You cannot get a life insurance policy unless you have settled law. That's what I keep thinking about here, is that there's got to be settled law. We've got to settle this. We've got to get him arrested. It's definitely him. I mean, I don't know why that family felt that Kit was so against them, but he absolutely wasn't. It was neither here nor there what was going on across the street. He was happy that Cal and Joan were together. He really was. Michael Kanzaki will tell you that. I wanted to shake the man's hand for taking her off my plate. You know, then the bigamist stuff comes up. Then we find out she's a felon. Then we find out that somehow she's bailed out of jail. Yeah,
Yeah, we need to
follow
find that
the
out, and I'm sure we
money.
will.
Follow the money. Donna's absolutely right. I say if you follow the money on this whole thing, ladies, we're going to have one surprise after another.
You know, the thing that every day I say to myself is, how do the prosecution and the victims' families live with no evidence, no DNA? And they could have went ahead and sentenced him to death.
That's right.
with
And
no
it was an
evidence
option.
and no DNA.
And the death penalty was on the table. Judge Atkins
Yes.
put it on the table. Think about that. This man is innocent, 100%
Yes.
innocent. There was nothing in, you know what? It had to be a bad day in Christian County the day Court TV came in and said, we're going to cover this.
If you don't care, Crystal, I'd like to address that. I talked to one of the attorneys that represented him, and this is very interesting, ladies, for our ladies' night out here. We saw the indictment. We put it all over social media, and the reason we have is because it says that, for you all who have not seen it, it says death penalty is on the table, and it says no bond. Well, his attorney says death penalty had been taken off the table. So I want to know, Judge Atkins, I want to know why death penalty was written on the instructions.
Where he wrote in his old man writing, and it's very frightening. I mean, just to look at it, you're like, ooh, getting the heebie-jeebies. It says death penalty is an option, and it's the grand jury transcript thing.
How in America, you know, the thing that when I sit in that courtroom and I watch the players, and everybody that took an interest in this needs to watch the whole court case on Court TV, when there was so many inconsistencies, there was so much that the judge didn't allow to happen, because he knew the reason he didn't, because he knew that would help Kit, and he didn't want it heard.
It's
So, right
unbelievable
from
how
the-
obvious that was, too.
Right from the beginning, they had crucified him.
They did.
Right from the beginning.
I
They
mean, the day that-
had to get a guilty verdict. They
the
were
day
being
that
told
we
that.
were, whenever we were there was so much sidebar And none of that can be on court TV. So even people who watch the trial and they get these, you're getting the meat of the matter, but you're not really getting the gist of the trial, which was smacking him in the face every time you turned around.
Right.
It wasn't swift, it wasn't just, it wasn't anything about it. It was unconstitutional.
All over the place.
The also, just for a side note in general, something that really, really bothers me about just like the state of Kentucky in general, this can happen to anybody there, and there's nothing you can do. You're not going to get paid back for it. You're not going to get your name back. You're not going to get any
And nobody's going to be held accountable, or at least that's
No.
what we think, until this
scared.
movement gets up to 1 million people, and that's the goal. Because there is strength in numbers, ladies. Let's get we get 1 million people behind us, and it's not impossible to do that. There are days. The olden days of Save Our Heroes, our country really does want to save our heroes. They really do. They just don't know where to go to do it anymore, because Save Our Heroes isn't as out there as they used to be. Those guys used to be so on top of everything. That's where our friend Rico got 1 million. And then TikTok came in, and, TikTok will start getting involved after like 1 million views of something. They're going to really become involved. That's something that Rico just said. And we're talking about a guy that served in the United States Air Force, met us on TikTok, and reached out and said, I served time over at Leavenworth in that 90 days of kits. And I served with him. He goes, he had the 90 days. I had the full 7 years. And it was for a wrongful conviction.
And he wants to help him. He could speak to Chris's character also. And
yeah.
Chris said, well, in fact, yesterday, or maybe day before, I sent Rico's phone number to Kit, and they contacted each other last night. I believe it was.
That is so cool, Stacy. That just delighted my heart, didn't it? Yours. And that was all you, girl. You put people together, just like you put the four of us together right now. You do this all the time. And that's what I say. There's strength in numbers. We got to keep doing this on a social media basis. Share everything, and hashtags. Hashtags are so important. That is hashtags are basically the topics, or the subject matter. Free Kit Martin. So we hashtag that everywhere we go. Now, we've also started that hashtag, Joan had the phone. I want you to know that's just on TikTok alone. That's been hashtag over 275,000 times. Now, tell me that means people's eyes are on that. Oh, I love that. Let me see that again. Stand up and let me see.
Can y'all see my shirt?
Let me see. I love the gray. I got the black, and I love it too.
I got black.
And it says hashtag Joan had the phone.
I feel like that hashtag is sparks your curiosity.
That's right.
As well. I mean, I'm very cynical, and I obviously, yes, hashtag Free Kit Martin, but I feel like the people that see that, they may be more curious, and you can actually type it in and search it, and it's going to lead you somewhere to where you can hear this story, get educated on. This can happen to you. I have 4 boys. This could happen to one of my kids.
No question about it.
It's the world we live in now, because
it can't be.
Joni is extremely evil, but there are little Jonies everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely. Ask these people from the U.S. Air Force, serving 7 years. His story is unbelievable. It was just, I saw one the other day, a guy, TikTok's just full of this kind of stuff, but I saw one the other day where a guy has a woman come into his yard, right? And he comes out and he goes, you can't be in my yard right now. You need to leave. And she wouldn't leave. And then he's like, no, you really do. Look, I'm going to go get my gun. You need to leave. And because he said he was going to go get his gun, she charged him with attempted murder. He ended up serving time out of this, and he had served in the U.S. Army, and he put this really got to me, you guys. He put his uniform, and he goes, do you know how much blood, sweat, and tears are in that uniform right there? And he had it hanging up behind him. He torched his uniform, you guys. He torched it. He goes, this is what they did to me. They left me in there. They did not protect me. I protected them, and I did everything they told me, but I got 0 from the U.S. Army on helping on this. And this is you too, the U.S. Army. I go and serve my country. Then my country does this to me. That's what happened to Kit. I can't see him ever burning a uniform, but holy schmoly, he would have every right. He would have every
and
right.
it all goes back to Joni because they believed her. They bought her story. For some reason, from the get-go, they wanted to support whatever she wanted to accomplish.
Why?
And, to be military men, all those military men that were in that decision-making, and then the higher up political people that got involved in this
Yeah.
at the state level in Kentucky. I don't understand why they wanted a innocent man to do this to his life. I mean, they have totally let the ones that committed the murders, they're still free. They're watching our shows.
Yes, they are.
No, you bet. You bet.
Following very closely.
Yeah.
I think first Chris was a person of convenience, and then I think he became a pawn to win an election.
That's very possible with the Andy Bashir thing and the timing of
I
everything.
mean, the results of that particular election it was not a landslide.
No.
He needed something to tip that scale, and
So he
I
won
think
by
that-
4%. Oh my.
And come on, guys, how easy is it to get an appointment with the attorney general? We're going there, it seems like. He was an attorney general running for governor, right? And
Right.
This is what your ladies are referring to.
Right.
And he's neck and neck with his opponent. And all of a sudden, he shows up with this. No, they take him down at the airport where the media already was waiting. And it's like, wow, look, I'm fighting crime. And look at me, I'm going to fight crime. And I've got this high-ranking military officer, decorated officer, which was great for news for him. And I'm taking this man down. He lived across the street. He was married to a psychopath, my opinion. And then now it's easy. We can blame him. And we've got somebody, the ex-wife, who's actually the ex-bigamist, who is more than happy to help them, try to have false evidence and to convict him.
Just seems to me like butthurt dignitaries in the U.S. Army. I have another word for you, by the way. There's nothing brave about you. I could use a female genitalia kind of word for you.
Rhyme with wussy?
Yeah, it rhymes with wussy. Yeah, it does. Hey, it's girls' night. But these are not military
Go ahead,
dignitaries, you guys.
You
These
have
are
to go-
rhymes with wussies.
Yes. And you have to go deep in this because, we're on that surface about the military and how they didn't protect their own. They went with this evil woman who, why in the world did they trust her? I don't know. But then
They didn't.
as
They
you get
knew.
to these triple murders, then correct me if I'm wrong. What I have in my head from when I was at the court was Detective, the investigator Smith.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
Was that not his brother's?
No.
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 The truck driver, was he not kin to him?
No. There was another one. His name was Ed Stokes, was the captain.
Ed Stokes. yes,
Right. And
Ed
he had to
Stokes.
recuse himself from this whole thing.
Yes,
And then
and he
William
was very-
Stokes was the alleged boyfriend of Joni. I don't know if they were boyfriend and girlfriend or not. She was still seeing Cal at the time. I mean, we've got to put that out there. That is out there for the world to digest, that Cal and Joni
it-
had a relationship, a very intense relationship.
We have a recording, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the deceased. It's just a fact. We have a recording with Cal admitting, because he was asked, the rumor is in the town that you're having an affair with Joan. His exact reply to that was, so?
So started laughing.
So?
So what?
The information that the Army has is the fact that apparently you were having an affair with Joan.
Okay,
Okay, that's what they have.
so what?
Okay, well, it brings in the motive.
Well,
Okay.
and that's why I say, whenever you look at the disc and you look at the information, That stuff stands on its own. That's free from anybody's
Right,
hand. or
but
free-
the thing
free
is
from
that you got to
anybody.
think about her too, is that
But
these are
there's
the
no
questions.
motive. There's no motive there.
Well,
I mean, if the
Anybody
information,
could come across with a motive with that. If you're having an affair with a woman that's involved in this
the
situation,
thing is,
everybody's going to make that out to be what they will.
and that's fine. That's
You
why
have your viewpoint on it. She has her viewpoint on it. From the outside in, Calvin, it doesn't look good.
Okay, well, that's great, because the information on the discs, that'll speak for itself. I
Okay.
have nothing to do with any of that.
And you know, to Donna, where you were going is, and I do think that William Stokes was Joan's boyfriend, and they're, you know, from what I understand, and he had two brothers. One was Doris Ray Stokes. One was a fireman. One was on the police force. Here's a question I've had, ladies, for a long, long time. And, you know, there may be something I'm missing in this. But they find this car burning with two unidentified bodies. How did they know at that exact time to recuse or to remove one of the Stokes from the case, because it would be a conflict? How did they know at that point it was
Right.
going to be a conflict?
Well, we don't know what time all of that took place, but I
No, we
would be
didn't.
very interested in finding out. I really would, because it
It's
all
a
happened so
legitimate
fast.
question.
Doris Ray Stokes was one of the first firemen to arrive on the scene, and Ed Stokes was the first police officer. And William Stokes is apparently dating Joni. I mean, God, yeah. And where were these people during the trial? Where were they? Oh, they just
They
were
couldn't be
there.
found.
Hey, they were there, but the judge didn't let them testify.
Well, William, that they supposedly couldn't locate, I can locate him right now if I need to.
Yeah.
Just a car ride. I
Yeah.
mean,
But y'all remember those brothers looking at us, Jessica, like they could kill us, looking through us,
yeah.
like we were
being
the plague.
being at that, I wouldn't take anything for being there at the trial and getting that firsthand experience, because it was a joke. I
Do
mean,
you
I don't.
remember when we were in the restroom and the jury came into the restroom unattended, and some of us three were in the stalls and we were having a conversation, and then we look out
Whoa.
and there's the jury women in our
There
bathroom.
There was one
Public
juror,
bathroom.
like, she was probably almost, I would say, close to retirement age, and I don't remember who else was in there. I know I was in there, and I know she was in there, and I could hear her breathing heavy, and she comes out of the stall, and she's having a full-on panic attack in the bathroom, and I'm a audience member, and she's a juror, and I'm like, are you okay? Like, first of all, how are you even in here with me?
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay? Because she was not okay.
There was
And
several.
I really feel like she had a job to do that she didn't want to do, which was
Oh, I got
say,
that. I got that feeling with everybody in the prosecution table. I mean, I didn't feel like Barbara Whaley wanted to be there. I didn't feel like sometimes Scott Smith wanted to be there. I felt like they were forced to be there. They were, now Scott Smith took that job, and his whole thing leaving Post 2 and then getting this job is very suspect to me. I mean, Emilio Corsetti, who's writing the book, I Will Ruin You right now, he says that's a nothing burger, but I think it is a something burger. So,
Yeah.
And by the way, Emilio Corsetti, you guys were talking about sidebars a while ago. I am going to try, because I'm a media person. I've been a news person all of my life. So like Emilio, I'm going to go for an open records request, as he got all of the sidebars. So I don't know if you've ever been over to emiliocorsetti.com, but if you go to the site map and you go over to his videos, they're all on Vimeo, and they're very high quality. And take a listen to some of the sidebars, because it changes everything. And I don't know if the Supreme Court has the ability to do that, I don't know if they do check. I would, if I were them. I would want to know everything, what the judge was up to. I would want to know all of that. So I'm just hoping that my fingers were crossed that some of those sidebars were heard, because then you get to really see what they didn't do. It's a lot of what they didn't do.
Right.
More than what they
I
did.
felt like, you said you felt like the prosecution didn't want to be there. I don't know if Stacey or Donna got this impression, but I felt like they were I almost felt like they were scripted.
Right.
And it didn't matter what the rebuttal was or the cross was. They were just sticking to their script. And I feel like they knew the outcome the whole time. So they didn't really have to fight.
Some breaking news right here on the Free Kit Martin podcast. Information that I found out that for some reason never came out in the trial. One is, did you all know that Kit Martin had Doris Ray Stokes arrested at one time for threatening to kill him?
No.
Yes. And Chris was out running the dog, and I guess he went down some road running, and Mr. Stokes' dogs, and I think I have the details correct on this, but please understand this is coming from somebody whose phone calls are recorded, and we're trying to put the information together. I don't know why it wasn't brought out in court, because one of Chris's lawyers definitely knew about it. So Chris is out running the dogs. The Stokes' dog gets loose, comes out there. Chris's dogs and that dog get into it, and he screams at Chris with a shotgun, "I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you." And it was so bad that Chris calls, and he, now I don't know if they picked him up, because I think Doris is the one that was with the fire department, but he absolutely went, and there's a police report on it where he filed it, where Doris Ray Stokes threatened to kill Kit Martin. And for some reason that never came out in the courtroom.
Oh my gosh. Everything that had to do with the Stokes, it was objection. It just became chaos and a mess again. That's very interesting news right there, though.
So that goes to Donna's speaking, or I think it was Donna, it may have been Jessica, that, talking about that these Stoke boys, they were, again, recused from the case. I'll use that word, because they said they would be a conflict of interest. I don't know how. We need to look that up on transcripts. Come to find out, Doris Ray Stokes had threatened to kill, Kit Martin at one time for the dogs getting in an argument. And then, William Stokes, the brother, was dating Joan. So that seems a little entangled to me. And then one other thing you mentioned when we were talking, when Jessica was on, she was talking about the juries. And I think Donna was feeling this way also, as I did, I felt like when Kit Martin walked in that courtroom, he was already convicted.
No question about it.
Amen to that.
Yeah. And even when he was arrested, he was convicted. They arrested him at the Louisville airport in a very orchestrated, planned, scripted way. TV cameras standing by for the 5 o'clock news. It was like 3:30 in the afternoon or something. Unbelievable. And also think about this, you guys. And I was telling Stacy about this on the phone earlier. I just want you to try to envision, a couple of days after the arrest, they get him to Christian County from, Louisville. And Scott Smith comes walking in with a woman, right? And he's going to he's about to interrogate Kit Martin. Let's remember Kit Martin is a U.S. Army Ranger, and he has already outsmarted every one of these people, So, well, not, and I know because he's so smart, and because of that's the reason that some of those dignitaries probably in the Army and the people like the Doris Stokes of the world have an issue with him. He's a badass. I'm going to say it. All right. It's just straight up jealousy. Somebody's butt hurt.
The problem they have in my opinion, with Kit, and I don't think we're going to put that name out there yet, but there was a high ranking official that's coming. It's coming. Listeners, we will put that out there.
Oh, yeah.
But there was a high-ranking official that basically, I don't know if this is a bad word, but he pissed him off because he disagreed and he wouldn't stand down from his principles.
No.
And it was an integrity issue. And he was not going to say he did something that he did not do. So he was offered an opportunity for it just to all be gone away. This was the court martial.
Right.
It was going to all just be disappeared, and he would not go along with that and lie about it. And guess what? That person, General Stammer, he was just absolutely, from that moment, Chris's life changed.
I
All
know
of our
it.
lives changed.
Yeah, and I could see that from like the Bob McCarty interviews and things that have happened like several years ago, even before the court martial. There were already interviews going on with Kit Martin out in the public about what is going on in the military. And it's really, this to me is the saddest part of it, is that these dignitaries in the Army, I mean, it just frightens me. It cannot be that way in the United States. We can't have somebody go over there and fight like Kit did his entire life and just to give to people. I mean, that is his heart. And then this happened to him where his own country turns on him like this. That's the part of this that enrages me the most. It's the reason I put myself right here behind this microphone, and I'll put my face behind it and everything. Because at this point, my country has gone to hell. And it started that day, that very day in June of 2021, when that jury said guilty. It was bought and paid for. They railroaded him. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it that it happened
I
right
couldn't
here.
either.
It's a banana
I grew up-
republic.
I grew up in the Navy. I grew up on military bases. I grew up observing integrity, observing respect, observing I've got your back. Military families are so strong. And to have watched this play out, and my 84-year-old dad, 20-year Navy, retired Vietnam veteran, it is absolutely sickening to know what all, and my dad did a lot in Vietnam and a lot in the military on ships, but Chris was flying and he was in war zones in the air.
Yeah.
And, you know, he makes it through all of that. And then his country turns their back on him.
Unbelievable. He fought for the Bill of Rights, and they're just pissing all over it right now, man. Also, I wanted to tell you guys this. You just reminded me of something, being that you came from a Navy family and everything. Mike Kanzaki was telling me, he's like, you know, I've been working for Kit pro bono for a while now, and he's like one of LA's greatest detectives, and we were so lucky to have him. But he said, I said, what is it that got you into this? Is it because Kit's just such a cool guy? He goes, no, I'm an Army guy. We leave no man behind.
That's right.
We leave no man behind. And we're not going to leave you behind, Kit. None of us are. None of us are going to leave you behind, my friend. I cannot wait for you to jet off into the sunset wherever you guys end up going, your family. It's just such a beautiful family, isn't it, Donna? I mean, I know it is. I mean, these people are some salt of the earth. And I sat next to Mr. Martin, Mr. Marty Martin,
Yes.
who is, of course, the great father of Kit Martin. And I was sitting next to him at our very first little rally. It was the day of the sentencing, and the night before the sentencing, we all met, and you know, we were having some wine and sitting down. I didn't know I was sitting next to Kit's dad, but we were all going around and just introducing ourselves. And it gets to Mr. Martin. He says, "My name is Marty Martin, and I'm Kit's dad." And that's how I know he didn't do it. And it just came to me then. Yeah, then I started bawling in front of all the family, and not this country. I can't believe it's happening in this country, and it is happening in this country. It's not just Kit's case, you guys. That's what I've learned from being a part of this. This is happening all over the United States, not just in the state of Kentucky. We just happen to be the people calling out the state of Kentucky and the U.S. Army right now. Let's just say it right out loud. We've got to call out the U.S. Army.
There's a website that people can visit called militarycorruption.com.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just dedicated to these kind of things. Crystal, I would like to ask Donna a question, and I don't think I've ever asked her this. You know, we just knew he was innocent. We just know him. You know, she's known him since 91, you know, and I want to know, you know, and it could have been before. I'm not going to give you a preempted answer. And what I want our listeners to know is, we don't all get together and say, this is what we're going to say on this podcast. This is a free conversation. It's not scripted at all. We're just having conversation. But I want to know, Donna, at what moment did you know that Kit Martin was innocent?
From the very first moment anything was said to me. I have known he was innocent from the start. From the start of all the circus, I have known my friend Chris, Kit Martin, is innocent, and it is sickening. I had to visit, my brother was a pillhead, And my town used him as a file on their desk. He wasn't a pusher. He wasn't a dealer. He was an addict. And every time they could catch him with something, they put him in jail. He would end up in state prisons because he would violate probation with having some substance.
Yeah.
Going in and seeing him, and I had another family member that was guilty that we went to see as a child in prison. He was guilty, and it was still sickening that how they're living and how they're kept. It was a prison down in Alabama. I mean, it was awful. But to know this man and know there's no doubt, there's zero doubt, Kit Martin is innocent. I cannot believe that that we go from year to year. It's 2023, 2015, 2023. Kit has lost all these years. He's got grandchildren he has not even seen yet. The man is innocent, and he's been deprived of all these years. And I don't know what we do. I mean, there's not a doubt in anybody's mind that knew Chris all these years in Manchester, Tennessee. We know he's innocent.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody does. Everybody he worked with, everybody that he knew, everybody that his kids played with. He was an ideal father. He was at the baseball fields. He was showing horses with them, miniature horses, which was so darn cute you couldn't imagine.
I love that Stacy
And-
got him into that.
And he was dedicated. If he was going to do something, he was going to do it all the way.
Uh-huh.
Everything for those children, everything in our town. You know, I can remember it being after 2015, and I walked into the Veterans Building for breakfast, and there was Kit and
Yeah.
his dad. Now, look what all he had going on in his life and everything on the edge. And this is a every month breakfast. And guess where Kit was? With his veterans.
And Stacy was telling me, didn't he just have a veterans? It was after Veterans Day, but they actually got to eat some real chicken, he said, whatever that means.
He was so excited. He emailed me and said, we had a veterans club dinner today, and it was actually real chicken. And it just, just
And they had the
pulled my
whole
heart
thing, like
out.
mashed potatoes and green beans, and like they had this real, like, kind of Thanksgiving chicken dinner with a bunch of
He was
veterans.
so excited.
I
Yeah.
know. I love that. I love that. Hey, it's also worth mentioning that the day of the sentencing, I was live down there on Facebook for one of the Facebook pages, and I'm very proud to announce that Fort Campbell buzzed the tower that day. So his Apache
Wow.
helicopter people were there. And
How about it?
yeah, I tell you, I got chills thinking about it right now. But I was just live, and I was kind of walking around the parking lot, and you kind of hear that kind of thing coming. You know, it's not like a helicopter. This is a gunship, you know? So it's when it's above you, you know it's above you. And
These must be people that had worked with him
yeah.
making a statement.
But yeah, there was somebody buzzing the tower in that they just dropped low to the courthouse while we were all out there with our signs, and then came right back up again. So a nice little bow. We took it as what it was. It was like they just buzzed the tower. That's we
dedication.
support you. Yes. Yes.
Dedication.
Hey, we're going to do it again, ladies. I'm ready to go hang out. I mean, even if it's in front of the jail, if we can do like a ladies' retreat over there in West Liberty, why not stand out in front of the jail with some signs? I mean, we could get permission and actually pull that off, and then invite some Kentucky people to come join us.
I just don't want to do anything that could make it hard on Kit.
Chris,
So that's
right.
Yes,
Yes, I get it, darling. We'd
But-
never do that. We would never do that.
The other thing that needs to be mentioned is, as I've said to Stacy and others, don't go to Kentucky.
Yeah,
I'm afraid of Kentucky. I'm afraid if they see our car tag.
right.
I'm afraid of what they'll do. And my husband spent 2 years working in that Hopkinsville community, staying at the Holiday Inn downtown. And it just chills me to the bone to think what could have happened, that he could have gotten
Absolutely.
into. But
Man, oh man, I can't believe it. It's just bought and paid for or something. What is going on where an innocent man like this can just be raked, not once raked over the coals, twice, once from the army, and then somehow they get 12 people to say you're guilty, and there's
Well, there was
zero
money.
evidence.
There was
Zero
money
evidence
following-
and a lot of money. I mean,
There was money following the trail.
you know
Well, I'm
it.
going to just say my friend Donna, she worries about me all the time anyway, 'cause she knows sometimes I'm just going to step out and do it anyway.
We all have
so,
learned that.
But I will just say for our listeners, and I'm talking about those that we know are listening, Scott Smith, Barbara Whaley, the Whaley family.
Noiseworthy,
people, I'm not scared of you.
little John Atkins, little Jimmy Garrett, all you guys.
Not scared of you. What I do know, you will abuse your authority. I know Crystal gave Scott Smith benefit of the doubt earlier, saying that she thought he didn't want to be there. I think he enjoys being corrupt. I think he's in too many other cases to not be. There will be things come out, Scotty. I mean, there will be. And yes, I'm calling you out here. You know why? Because you were instrumental. You all were instrumental in putting this innocent man, the father, the son, the military hero, our friend, a Christian man, somebody that was not and is not the monster you all made him out to be. And how dare you lay down and sleep at night? That's how I feel about it.
You know, when you're a judge, when you're the state governor, when you're the attorney general, when you are working as a public defender, you have a due diligence and you have an oath of office. How in the world are they living with themselves? It's their duty to fix this and get it right. They know it's wrong, and they are under oath, and they have done this to Kit.